Coming up on Boston Celtics today, we'll cover the latest around Robert Williams and some potential trade interest around the league for his services. Will the Celtics keep or potentially trade him? We'll explore also the top 20 NBA trade targets that are on the market as we get closer and closer to the February 10th NBA trade deadline. Also want to say thank you guys so much for 8,000 subscribers. We crossed that milestone, but it continues to grow here on Celtics Today. Next milestone is 9K, so subscribe if you haven't. And for those of you who had, we greatly appreciate it. All of that and more is coming up here on Boston Celtics Today. You're watching Celtics Today by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Harrison Graham, and the trade deadline less than 2 weeks away, and as we get closer and closer, we will continue to cover the latest Celtics trade rumors. Let's start with Robert Williams here, as a report dropped that the Celtics have received some interest for his services, which isn't super surprising because he's having a solid season. NBA executives, however, believe that Boston will keep him. They, of course, signed him to that 4-year, $50 million deal this offseason, so Boston really likes him. But when it comes to Boston, they have been one of the teams more linked to trade rumors really for the last couple of years, especially with the idea of splitting up Jayson, Tatum, and Jaylen Brown. More on that later in the video. But you look at what Williams has done this year, really efficient. He's basically averaging a double-double at almost 10 and 10 there. 2 blocks per game as well. That's a career high. Field goal percentage at almost 74%. That is a ridiculous number. I know most of his shots are right around the basket, but that is still insanely efficient. He's having a career year. He really is. He's always been this Energizer Bunny type, but he slowly kind of progressed and gotten better year in and year out. And now here in year 4, year 5, you're seeing him, really play at a solid level and be a starting caliber big in this league, which is huge for Boston because they've needed someone to emerge at that position, and he's been able to do that. And I think he's still an ascending player in the NBA, which is why teams are interested in trading for him. What would you guys do? Would you trade Robert Williams if you got the right value in return? Type T for trade him, type K for keep him. Get your votes in on this one down in the comment section. The only way I would do this if it was part of some blockbuster trade to get a clear upgrade at some position, right? I'm not trading him for just like 1 first-round pick or something like that because the chances you get a Robert Williams caliber player with the first-round pick, unless it's like a top 3 pick, is actually very slim. The NBA draft, as you guys know, is a very big crapshoot, so I wouldn't be trading him for draft compensation. Plus, Celtics are finally starting to play good basketball. They've been very inconsistent for 2 seasons now, but they've won 7 of 10. They've won 4 of 6 as well. They're starting to play well and move up in the Eastern Conference standings just a little bit. And I think they're a team that, maybe could get up into that 4 or 5 seed in the East if they continue to play well, and maybe they add a player or 2 at the deadline as well. So when it comes to Robert Williams, I don't think he's going anywhere. Look, if you get blown away, Danny Ainge would always, tell you should always pick up the phone and answer that call because you never know what might be offered. But I think he's an asset that they like moving forward, and I would be surprised if Robert Williams ended up getting traded before February 10th. Thank you guys so much for 8,000 subscribers. If you haven't subscribed already, I encourage you guys to do so, whether it's myself, Chase Sr., or anyone else here at the Chat Sports team. We will have you guys covered here on Boston Celtics Today. News, rumors, trade buzz, injury updates that occur. We will continue to keep you in the know. So subscribe, and a little pat on the back for everyone who's already subscribed here at Boston Celtics Today. Okay, I promise you guys we take a look at some of the top names heading up to the trade deadline. 20 players here we'll take a look at. Goran Dragic, kind of a combo guard. A lot of people think it's Dallas or bust for him. We'll see what happens on that front. Terrence Ross, a wing. It would be, kind of similar to what Boston did last year when they traded for Evan Fournier. Not quite the sniper that he is, but a pretty good defensive player. Talen Horton-Tucker, a young combo guard with the Lakers, could be on the move if LA wants to improve their roster. Gary Trent Jr., a really nice young piece. I think he would cost quite a bit. Maybe you could package Marcus Smart and something else to bring him to Boston. More guys here. Karis LeVert, Indiana is willing to do a fire sale, I think, if they get a lot of compensation in return. Buddy Hield, it seems like he's on the trade block every trade deadline, but he's got a lot to offer. Elite three-point shooter, as is Eric Gordon. Eric Gordon, guys, is shooting 45% from three this year. He's been tremendous. As you guys know, Dennis Schroeder's another guy on the block. Marcus Smart, a couple of guys within the Boston Celtics that could get dealt. We'll see if Boston becomes buyers or sellers, or maybe they use guys like Schroeder and Smart to get a star into town. What is the Celtics' biggest need right now? I want to hear it from you guys in the comment section. What does Boston need more than anything? Not necessarily a specific player, but a positional need or a type of player. I want to hear that right now. Let's take a look at some bigs now. Marvin Bagley III, he's kind of been stuck in the mud out in Sacramento. He wants out, but they won't trade him. We'll see if they pull the trigger before the deadline. Domantas Sabonis and Myles Turner, a couple of bigs with Indiana. I think that if either is healthy enough to trade, then they will consider doing that. Both are dealing with some injuries right now. Thaddeus Young, he's the perfect glue guy role player type. San Antonio might sneak into the play-in tournament, but they're not doing any damage in the playoffs this year. I think he's likely to get traded. John Collins, the Hawks started off brutally this year, but they have won, 5 games in a row here, so maybe they will decide to keep him. But if they get a huge offer, he could be one of the bigger names traded on the market. How about some guards here, some big-name guards that are unlikely but could get traded? C.J. McCollum, what if the Blazers either get word from Dame that he wants to leave after this year and get traded or, isn't buying in anymore, or he says, hey, trade CJ for a different type of player. Maybe that could happen. Russell Westbrook, John Wall, a couple of players that, based on their contract, are not worthwhile players of what they're bringing to the table, but could you do a swap? Could you do a Russ for John Wall swap? I think the Rockets would consider it if the Lakers threw a first-round pick to Houston, so we'll see what happens on that front. Some blockbuster trade targets, Ben Simmons. If you want to split up Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum, maybe Ben Simmons is the type of guy to bring in, as he would be an upgrade defensively and a different stylistic offensive player. Jerami Grant is one of the bigger names out there. He's been banged up, but he's a guy who can really score, shoot the ball as well. Bradley Beal, not having an efficient season, but we know what he brings to the table as a pure ISO scorer. Is it time to split up Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown? Why for yes and for no? We've asked you guys this a lot at Boston Celtics Today. I'd like to see it work with these two guys together. They're playing better right now, so right now I don't feel like doing it, but eventually it may be time to split these guys up. Just a few more guys to watch. Long shot trade candidates. Christian Wood, I think the Rockets really like him and think he can be a part of the future, but if they get blown away, they would trade him. Tyrese Haliburton, De'Aaron Fox, a report dropped that the Kings are not making them tradable, at least at this point in time. But again, if they get a huge offer for one of these guys, I could see it. Damian Lillard with Portland, he's injured right now, but if both teams agreed and if he requested a trade, then maybe it's possible he would get traded. I think an offseason trade more likely for Damian Lillard. Who is your dream trade target for the Boston Celtics? Let us know in the comment section, and be sure to subscribe for some more videos.